Hi, I'm Paula Burks, a business writer with the Oklahoman, and I'm here with Laura Cross, a healthcare attorney with Scoggins and Cross, and we're going to talk about end-of-life issues and living wills. And I know that that's been a huge campaign of yours, Laura, for the last 27 years, and I'm interested to know how you got a passion for it.
Oh, at least 27 years, Paula. Back in the mid-70s, I was an intensive care nurse, and we had progressed in our ability to maintain people longer than many people would have wanted to be maintained. The problem was, and is still yet, is that if we don't know what people want, then they receive all medical care to maintain their lives, sometimes beyond a point where they would want to have had their life maintained. So I've got on looking into it and found that some states had directive to physicians or advanced directives or mechanisms whereby a person can, ahead of their incapacity, write out or use a form to express what they did or didn't want when they were unable to make their own decisions. So following that, then we did initiate an early advanced directive form. It wasn't a very good one, and it was major revision in 1991, which came about through Governor Bellman's bioethics task force that I co-chaired. And we came up with the basis of what is the current law in Oklahoma. Now, since then, it's been tweaked several times and been involved with changes that were sort of minor. But then in 2006,
right,
there was a major change in the advanced directive, and we have a new advanced directive law that has taken care of many of the problems of the past. And it's one that I've really encouraged people, even if they have an advanced directive now, encourage them to look at the new one and consider signing a new advanced directive.
I know that makes it easier now, right? Like you can assign healthcare proxies that can do what you had to sign a durable power of attorney for now. So it just makes it easier since 2006, right?
That's right. That's right. The one document takes care of both durable power of attorney for healthcare needs, and as well as the living will and healthcare proxy of the advanced directive.
Before we get to that, I just want to back up and ask you about, I know that big word that, let's see if I can pronounce it right, palliative care. And that's what we're talking about right here, the palliative care. And can you tell me what that is and what it means?
Well, palliative care is comfort care.
Mm-hmm.
It's in it, and this is another thing that that I got interested in through intensive care, because intensive care, we, in general, were not very concerned about the comfort of the patient, but maintaining their life at all costs. Mm-hmm. And that can be very painful, not very satisfying to the patient or the family. And over the last few years, we have introduced into not only all other areas, but in intensive care, palliative care, so that the comfort of the patient during acute stages is also an issue, not just while you're dying, but at all periods of time, that comfort care is an issue of concern. But palliative, it's kind of interesting, you said the big word. Whenever I had the opportunity to be a project director for a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation grant that was working on improving end-of-life care around 1999 to 2002, and we debated whether to use palliative care with public information or just use comfort care.
Yeah, I wish we had used comfort care.
Do you? Well,
yeah.
You know, people have to learn a name, and it's a broad name. And like I said, it should begin at the time you have a diagnosis of something acute and burdensome to the body, and it becomes more of a focus near the end of life. Until near the end of life, the whole focus is on comfort. You're not going to cure the person, but it's on comfort. But even while you're doing curative care, palliative care is now being mixed into the care quotient. And it's I think patients have a better quality of care because emphasis is being placed on palliation as well.
Well, great. And another thing I just wanted to hit, because we don't have tons of time here, are what are the basic misconceptions that people have about end-of-life issues? I mean, what are the things that they have wrong that we all think?
Well, I think, first of all, The people think that if they sign an advance directive now, they lose the opportunity to make decisions about their care now. The advance directive has no impact, no legal binding, has no influence on care until two physicians find that you are unable to make your own decisions. As you know, I'm fighting cancer, and right now I'm on artificially administered food, hydration and nutrition. And that's in opposition to my advance directive that says when I am in a terminal condition, I can no longer make my own decisions. That's critical. Then I don't want to be fed artificially administered hydration and nutrition. But today, because I'm taking some treatments and I've got hope for remission, then...
And you're doing good work, and you have granddaughters, and there's a lot of reasons that you need to be on that.
A lot of reasons. Yeah. It gives me the ability to be here today,
right.
And so I can continue to live and serve, and that's a very important part of being me. So
right.
I make that decision, my own decision.
That's a key misconception, is thinking that you give up all of your...
Right, and you give up nothing.
Any others that stand out as far as what we have wrong as a general public, as far as how we misperceive this issue?
Well, say that again. I'm sorry.
Other major misconceptions?
Oh, major ones? Yeah, I think a big major one is that an advance directive is for old people.
Oh, yeah.
And truly, me and my disease, I'll probably be able to make my own decisions clear to the end. That's typically the trajectory of the disease. But where you really need an advance directive is a young person, yourself, or someone even younger, who's in a car wreck or some kind of an accident. And, well, the Terry Chavo case.
Which I think you and I talked about. I mean, that caused a huge debate at our Easter table several years ago, and as well as I'm sure it did across the country and across the state. And it's time for all of us to step up and get this in order, because since then, I think I told you recently, I've had two friends, young friends, like 51, I consider young, 51 and 49, have these sort of issues. And so now I'm definitely ready to sign mine. So besides the age and besides...
Well, I just want to make the point that what a terrible thing happened to that Chavo family.
Yeah.
There was just so much friction and anger and all just because they disagreed. And we find that when people go to even do an advance directive, that they have to sit down with their family and tell them what they want, especially the healthcare proxy and the alternate, because it's crucial that they understand what they want. And many times when I sit down with people to do an advance directive, they have many different opinions about how things should be, and they've lived together for 40 years, and they look at each other and say, how could you want that? You know, because it's something we haven't talked about, and we need to talk about it.
Premarital counseling.
Yeah, maybe so. I guess the other one are that the other misconception might be that you just can't pick anybody to be your healthcare proxy. You need to pick somebody who is willing and strong enough to follow your desires.
Instead of just saying that's what she wanted, but no, I can't make this sort of heavy decision. Yeah.
And spouses sometimes are not the best ones.
I know. Now I know my brother is the one. Okay, and then this is maybe turning around what we just talked about, but what are the main things that you should know? I guess maybe that's the opposite of the misconceptions we just talked about. But if we just had 5 minutes to tell people what they should know, what would it be?
Well, it's a document that takes a lot of thought and consideration and to answer the questions. There is a recently published guide called Your Right to Decide, Oklahoma's Advance Directive, that you can download off of a couple of different websites. It was developed through a grant to the Senior Law Center.
Maybe I'll put this up here. Maybe that makes a difference.
But it was basically through the efforts of Attorney General Edmondson's task force on end-of-life care. And I would suggest that anybody who is looking through it to go through, download this and walk through the advance directive, being sure that they have their questions answered. It's a very thorough guide. And then, you have to have two witnesses that are not going to inherit from you. So they come, not strangers, but two people who know you but are not going to inherit from you and are 18 years of age or older. And then once you have your advance directive, you make multiple copies. Copies are valid for for use with your doctor, etc. Give one to your doctor, take one to the hospital, give one to the healthcare proxy, other family members, but please keep a list of where you are giving them, so if you decide to change it, you can pull them all in
back, yeah.
and change them out.
Right.
So, one other thing I want to be sure people understand as far as in these areas where they have misconceptions is that you may think that your family can make all the decisions even without these documents, but we have some laws that basically say, number one, that we have to resuscitate you unless you've told us, or your proxies told us, that you don't want these things. And number two, we also have to provide artificially administered hydration and nutrition, or tube feedings, unless you have specifically said you don't want to. No consent's needed for either of those, but it takes you saying you don't want them, or by law, the healthcare providers have to provide it.
You can't just say, oh, don't let what happened to Aunt Bessie happen to me, and say it to your spouse and your children, and that's enough. You need this document. So
Certainly to be sure that your wishes are followed. Now, having talked with your family and told them what you do and don't want, many physicians, if he or she knows that, they will accept that as clear and convincing evidence of what you want, but many others will not. And so it's not assured that you will, in fact, have your wishes followed unless you have an advance directive.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time.